Today is Martin Luther King Day, and 60 years ago, he said, there's nothing new about poverty. What's new is that we have the resources to end poverty. That was 60 years ago. Why have we not ended poverty? Why are we talking about a climate crisis today? It's not because of the lack of resources. It's because we aren't using them as effectively as we could, and the urgency has just gone up. Climate change is the latest crisis. It's not new, but I think what is becoming better understood is that it's not a threat for the future. 7 million people die each year already because of air pollution. And the effect of climate change on communities like Hindus is now. It's not tomorrow. Hindu, if I understand correctly, you come from a pastoralist community in West Africa. I had the opportunity to visit the Maasai, a pastoralist community in East Africa, in Kenya, not so long ago. And what I saw there was incredibly sobering. I live in Geneva. I'm not a pastoralist. I don't know what it means for all of the livestock on whose lives depend are gone. They've died. Extreme weather has created drought in some places, floods in others. It's killed livestock, and it's forcing communities to move. And migration leads to conflict. And so when you pick up the paper and you read about conflict or you read about extremist groups, it's because of climate change in some way. And climate change is because of us. If Martin Luther King said there was enough resources to end poverty, what I'm gonna humbly add is perhaps what we still need is a greater sense of personal accountability. And I wanna speak to this for a moment because I really want anyone who's here or listening to this to do something differently this week in Davos as a consequence of listening to the people you're listening to on stage, mostly Hindu. I've worked in global health for 25 years, and I've been very proud of the achievements in global health. The World Health Organization, the Global Fund, Gavi, they've done wonderful things. And yes, there's been an attempt by these organizations in the last 20 years to increase representation. Tedros is the first African to head the WHO. The Global Fund, when it was created, has seats at its board for affected communities. The idea was, well, if AIDS is affecting, if HIV is affecting these communities, or TB or malaria, then they need to be at the table making the decisions. But what I don't think we've adequately done is understand the degree to which we are causing the problems we say we know how to solve. And climate justice brings that to a degree of clarity that, at least for me, is deeply humbling. Because I grew up, when did Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth come out? How much have we lived our lives in a convenient way that has caused greater impact on climate change? The resources that have driven the Industrial Revolution, the technologies that we have in our hand, those resources were extracted. They were extracted from communities and settings around the world in the form of people, in the form of land, in the form of minerals and resources to drive a revolution in technology and to drive the increase of wealth. And I benefited from that wealth. My parents came from India, and you might say, well, I grew up in the United States. Do you really have accountability for the injustice of the United States? And the answer is I do, because when I grew up in the United States, I was benefiting from the resources that were extracted from elsewhere and in the United States and in the Americas from indigenous communities. And I benefited from those. And then I went on my way, and I used energy in a way that contributes to climate change. Each of us is an individual contributor. Do we need to hold oil and gas accountable? Yes. Do we need governments to do their part? Yes. But again, coming back to Martin Luther King's quote, what's missing if we have the resources to eradicate poverty? And I think it's each of us recognizing that we are culpable, and we are empowered to do something about it. So if I acknowledge that the resources that went into my life being as comfortable as it is today, look at where we are, come from a debt, and I owe that debt back to the very communities that are being most affected by climate change today, then my perspective changes, and development and global health is not about charity. It's about doing what's right. It's about aligning with my values towards equity. Equity is justice. Equity is repair. And when we sit on a stage like this and we talk about equity and we talk about inclusion, to me, what that means deeply, personally, internally, is that I have to do better at listening to someone like Hindu whose community is experiencing the effects of generations of injustice, and I have to be an agent of change relative to that injustice if I'm gonna sleep well at night and if I'm gonna be a decent father to my children. So what I encourage all of you to think about as you sit here in Davos is how you can be an agent of change and how equity and inclusion are not outside-in concepts, but they're actually things that you can own internally. And what can you do differently this week to be an advocate for it, to amplify the voices of people like Hindu who are here? Thank you.
Anil, thank you. I'll go back to this one. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. For those candid insights and that call to action. I think we're all gonna, or we should, all walk away thinking about how we can be agents of change. All right. So maybe at this point, you're asking yourself, all right. So what about the private sector? How can industry contribute to this enhanced health equity and justice, essentially, when it comes to climate change? Well, our next guest has some fantastic insights exactly on this. As head of Foundation S, the Sanofi Collective, she is on a mission to create healthier futures for generations by catalyzing public health initiatives, leveraging Sanofi's philanthropy, and driving its medicines donations strategy. She's also a founding partner of several women's networks in France and the US, believing that innovation and progress comes from collective work and shared value initiatives. Please welcome Director General Foundation S, the Sanofi Collective, Vanina Laurent-Ledru.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and I feel so privileged to be sitting in the middle of this panel with those two fabulous agents of change. So I will try to follow your steps because I think you issued a very strong call to action, Anil. Why is Foundation S here? Well, we are basically serving underserved communities, and we, for instance, are doing a number of programs in Chad, where Indu comes from. And we really focus a lot on the impact of climate change on health. And today, on this Martin Luther King Day, I think it is highly critical to remind everybody and each of us that health is now at the center of the social justice and equity agenda. COVID has showed us that health systems are broken. It's really where you can and should fix broader inequalities, because if you do not have access to health, you will not have economic empowerment. Health is linked to migrations. Anil has reminded us how important that is. The fact that climate change is also going to throw 1.2 billion people on the migration routes is going to impact primarily their health. So that's what I wanted to start off with, that the biggest injustice that we're seeing now is going to impact the health of people, but it is created by climate change. And just to make sure that everyone understands what Hindu has reminded us, the fact that climate is now the biggest public health crisis is not only a question of migration, not only a question of economic empowerment, but it's a question of diseases that are spreading. It's a question of neglected tropical diseases that we are now seeing springing back up in countries where it was previously eliminated. It's a question of infectious diseases that are spreading because the mosquitoes can now live in more areas. It is a question of non-communicable diseases that are also more prevalent due to climate. So it's all of this that is coming straight at us like a truck, and yet we have been paralyzed in front of this. Why is that so? Well, I believe that it's high time to rewrite the old rule book. I believe that we have a duty to do business unusual. We always, with all due respect, invite the private sector to have some words on what business can do and the contribution of public-private partnerships in general. What I'd like to add a fourth P to that public-private partnerships. I think philanthropy can play a big role. I think it's high time that we develop new collaboratives, breaking those silos that we've been encountering far too much for far too long. And I think it is high time that we listen to those that are most impacted, sitting on my left here. So to throw that old rule book, we at Foundation S are structured as a think and do tank. And we have a great think tank, of which Anil is a distinguished member. And that think tank has published a report called Time to Adapt. And Time to Adapt is really raising the alarm and saying it's no longer about solely mitigating climate change, which is critical, don't hear me wrong, but it is now high time to support people that are on the front lines of climate change, people that need to adapt because their very survival is endangered, people that have for far too long been ignored because we were all trying to mitigate like crazy, to decarbonize like crazy, which is, again, very important. But so many people are dying from climate change that we absolutely need to make sure that we can adapt to that. So this report was really the first in a series, we hope. And as a result of this, because we are Think and Do Tank, we decided to take action and commit more than 40 million euros to the impact of climate and health. And our mother company, Sanofi, a healthcare company, has committed 450 million euros to accelerate decarbonization, mitigation efforts. So this is what the private sector can contribute, not only with financing, but also with thought leadership. And I'll leave you with maybe a last call to action. You're going to be drowning in call to action, but I believe that now it's also high time to fast-track flexible financing. So if you remember maybe one thing, it's FFF, because after the PPPs, I believe that now it's time to basically be accountable. It's time for us to walk the talk when we say we want to work on climate and its impact on health. So on our side, we're fast-tracking community grants, and it's hard work to fund the people like Indu's organization, because it's at very local level. You need to make sure you identify the right champions. You need to make sure that you have the right accountability. You need to make sure that you can also support them of the long term. So right now, last year, we supported 22 of these local community programs out of 73 active programs that we have at Foundation S. And we invite others to join with us because, again, it's time to create a larger movement. It's time to ensure that we put those communities not only in the driving seat, because you've always been in a driving seat, but really to guide us as to what is going to have a long-term impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that actually, for those insights, of course. And that actually leads me to a question for you, Hindu. I mean, building a bit on what Vanina has said, how should then organizations and partners and funders, how should they take action to build this trust with the communities in terms of that are most impacted by climate change?
Sure. So firstly, people need to understand, we are not the victim. We are the solutions. If the partners, financial partners, we say, is still calling us beneficiaries and they are donors, that is not going to work. This is the trust we wanted to recover. We are not beneficiaries. We are protecting 80% of the world's biodiversity. We are doing that with our own knowledge. We are not doing that with a single money that people are giving us. We are not doing that just for a job or for a power. We are doing that to protect the nature as a duty. So we are not a victim, we are a solutions. We are not beneficiaries, we are partners. If they are financial partners, we are ecological partners. Then we can build the equity. Then secondly, we need to have a direct access finance. The finance have so many intermediaries. As she said, my grandmother, I told you, she is the best one who is using the best technology ever. She is protecting all the nature. She is the one who knows how to plant the tree, how to know each medicinal plant. She's the one who is programming all the vaccine of her people, not with a shot, but with a medicinal plant that she's doing it. If she knows all that, she is PhD++, so why she cannot manage the money? So the money management must adapt to the way of the peoples. We are the one who can tell the international community or financial community how they can change the way of funding, of managing the finance. We are in financial collapse. We are in financial collapse and crisis because they didn't build it in a right way. But we are the ones who are protecting the nature. So this paradox needs to be set clearly. So as we are protecting the nature, we know how to manage the money. Maybe we cannot fill the Excel sheet and do like 1,000 of the report that my people cannot read. It's not valuable for them, but they can do the concrete activity on the ground. So we must get the direct access finance and flexible finance, as you said. That's what we need. Trust us as we trust the people who destroy the nature. Trust us, we can rebuild the nature. That's where we need the trust to be. Thank you.
Perfect, amazing closing words for our session today. Hindu, thank you so much, and what a strong call to action. I think we all take that, hopefully I'll take that to heart. Thank you, Anil and Vanina, for also joining us this morning and for your insights. So good. And to the WHO Foundation, of course, for sponsoring this conversation. All right, yay! All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.